Hello everybody, welcome to the 5th discography review of the year, and I can't believe we actually made it, because I do have the final artist picked out. It's Fiona Apple, and I think I'm going to carry it on next year. I think that's what's going to happen. Next year we'll be starting with Arctic Monkeys, because somebody did request that under the Kendrick Lamar discography review, and so I want to keep consistent with that. But for now, you didn't come here to see Fiona Apple or Arctic Monkeys. You came here to see one of the biggest nu metal bands of the 2000s, System of a Down. So without further ado, let's get into them. Serge Tankian and Darren Malkian both attended Rose and Alex Pilbius Armenian School as kids, but didn't actually meet until 1992 whilst recording in the same studio. If I mess up names, just go with it. The two met and they formed the band Soil, with Serge on vocals and keyboard, Darren on bass and vocals, Dave Hycopian on guitar, Domingo Laranio on drums, and Shavo Odigian as manager and eventually second guitarist. However, after only one live show and one jam sesh, Hycopian and Laranio both left the band, which ultimately caused Soil to break up. However, Serge, Darren, and Malkian all three formed a new band, Victims of a Down, then changing it to System of a Down, wanting to be alphabetically closer to Slayer, their heroes. They then recruited a new drummer, Antronik Katurian, on drums, and then after sending out 4 demo tapes, the band signed with American Columbian Records. After the release of 2 singles, Sugar and Spiders, the band that got the band to enjoy moderate success, especially with heavy rotation on MTV, System of a Down released their debut self-titled record in June of 1998. And anyone who saw the metal albums, my top 25, you know that I love this record. It's a perfect record. I think the guitar intro on Sweet Pea sets the perfect tone for the record. I love the religious questionings that come on the song No, and I love Serge's vocals on that song especially. I love the 2 singles, Spiders and Sugar. Sugar especially, with it being about drug abuse and the consequences thereof. Sugar being a euphemism for cocaine. The Devil is probably one of my favorite tracks. It's more about sin and lust, hence 2 Ds, double D. Yeah, you get it. I love this. But I think my favorite track is War. The amazing guitar, amazing intro. I love the strings and the choral vocals. Oh, and of course the song is about war, but more of the power struggle that comes from, that stems into war, is more what it's about. The chorus is amazing, and every component works together. I think this is System of a Down's best album. Do I think it's their most commercial album? Hell no. Let's be real, the outro, Pluck, while I do think it's an amazing track, I think the harmonies kind of go against all of the metal sort of stuff they've been doing, and I think if you're looking to get into the new metal sound of System of a Down, the self-title is not the way to do it. I love the hi-hat work, though, on Pluck, and I love the message of Pluck. It's basically penalizing Turkey for the Armenian genocide of 1915, Pluck standing for politically lying, unholy, cowardly killers, and it's a great track. Even on their debut, System of a Down sounds like a fully formed band, with lyrics hitting on so many political issues, the criticism of pedophiles in church and extremely religious people, how authority can treat you like you're nothing. Spiders is a story about a girl named June who is going through a process of getting a chip inserted into her brain so that people can control her. As I said, sin and lust in the media, people using religion to become more godlike, the government brainwashing people's mind, war, how society is just generally getting worse. And we even hit on some topics like drug abuse and suicide and depression. Especially the hardest hitting track here, Soil, named after the old band. I believe the band member, Laranio, I want to say, one of the old band members of Soil killed themselves because of suicide, because of depression. And this was the song towards him. Like, this was his song. And my God, has it done well. This whole album just kind of breezes by you without really a feel for it. And it's an amazing track list and an amazing record. I highly, highly, highly recommend to listen. On September 3rd, 2001, the band planned to launch their new album at a free concert in a parking lot that could only hold 3,500 people. This was just a thank you to fans, and you know, they would have done it had 15,000 people not showed up, and then the show got canceled by fire marshals. Yeah. It got canceled by fire marshals, and the band didn't have a chance to tell the fans who were in the audience, and the fans waited for hours for System of a Down to come out and play, and their only wind of what was happening was when authorities came out and took down the System of a Down banners, to which the fans promptly rushed and rioted the stage, destroying $30,000 of band equipment. But big break came in the album Toxicity, which came out the next day, September 4th, 2001. And it's critically acclaimed, and it's widely received as their best album. I don't think so, of course, but I think it's a close second. This album is incredible. While it doesn't really have time on its side because it released 7 days just before 9/11, and the song Chop Suey kind of took off radio because of it, with the self-righteous suicide line, which was actually more a reference to Jesus' self-righteous suicide, but whatever. But this album is still incredible. The opener, Prison Song, is the best display of how well this album can go, mixing both the faster bits, more talky bits of the album, the harmonies on the track, and the metal deep vocals on the track, the screams. The criticism of the war on drugs and the high incarceration rate that the U.S. has compared to every other modern nation. And it's an incredible track. I think another track that does this really well is X, which was originally written for the debut, and it's about immigration, overpopulation, and the Armenian genocide, but more overpopulation because, you know, we don't need to multiply, we don't need to multiply, we don't need to multiply, we don't need to multiply. And of course, I wouldn't be talking about Toxicity if not for the three big singles. Chop Suey, which I mentioned earlier, which is an incredible track that goes from these fast, wake up, put a brush and put a little makeup, why did you leave the kids up on the table? You want to. It goes from those into this more, I don't think you trust, into singing bits where Serge can display his vocal talents. And then the screams on the bridge, the Father, those are incredible. This is an incredible song all around, near perfect, and it would be the best song on the album if not for a couple of other tracks. Toxicity, especially, the title track and single, about ADHD, although I don't know how much I buy that. It seems to be kind of about nothing, which is okay, because System of a Down pulls it off like a motherfucker. But of course, the best track on the album, Aerials. Objectively the best track, not my favorite, but objectively the best track on the album, Aerials. An iconic guitar part. Serge gets to display his incredible vocal talents on the track. The drums on this thing, my God. The atmosphere on this thing, my God. it's an incredible track, and it would have been a perfect closer if not for Arto, which I personally don't like it. I think it's cheap, and I think it's not great, although I see why some people do like it. It's them chanting Lord have mercy in Armenian, which is cool. I get the concept, but like, I don't know, man, just doesn't do it for me. But I think my favorite track on the album is Science. It's written from the perspective of somebody who values belief more than actually having knowledge, hence the chorus, science has failed our world. It's talking through that sort of religious perspective. It's my way or the highway sort of religion, and it's a great track. I love it. I think it's amazing. And the band gets into more environmental issues on this album, specifically with songs Forest and ATWA. ATWA standing for air, trees, water, and animals. And they pull it off pretty perfectly. I think ATWA is my favorite of the two tracks. But yeah, overall this album is really good. I think it would be better without Arto and Bounce. God, I hate Bounce. Bounce is a joke track about group sex. I don't know, man. It was in The Secret Life of Pets, if that helps. But overall, this is still a great album. I think, well, I won't say that yet. After a tour that was mildly successful and mildly unsuccessful, specifically with Serge being racially profiled by a security guard and being attacked to the point where he needed hospital care on his own tour with Slipknot, the unreleased tracks of Toxicity made their way to the internet. These tracks dubbed Toxicity 2. And the group basically told fans that the tracks were unfinished, and they quickly finished them and released them as their own album in 2002 named Steal This Album. And it's fine. It's good, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. Tracks like Chicken Stew, Inner Vision, Boom, ADD, Mr. Jack are some of the best System of a Down tracks. But I think this album really lacks in some tracks. I think tracks like Nugans, while I get the idea, I get the concept, I get that the political aspects behind it, it just doesn't do it for me. The chorus is really meh. The vocals are fine, I guess, but the solo just, I don't like the instrument they bring in. One of the bigger songs on it, I-A-I-A-I-O, just also doesn't do it for me. I, again, get the concept. I think the lyrics are a bit out of it for me. They ring not great. 36 is way too quick to have any impact on me, and the guitar is just not doing it at all. But that's not to say that this album is bad. I think my favorite track on the record, F the System, Fuck the System, is incredible. And I love the way Serge goes, like, Serge says it in the chorus. I don't know why, that's a little nitpicky thing for me, but I love it, so that's fine. And I really do like the track, Highway Song. It's really good. I love the riff on that thing. It goes hard as hell. I love the track Boom. Boom, 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 boom. God, I love that. That's amazing. I think Mr. Jack is one of my favorites as well. More about corrupt police. This corrupt police state we have, where police are actively looking for a chance to arrest people wherever they please, not actively looking for criminals, more actively looking for people who happen to be breaking the law. And I love the vocals on this thing. Serge does an incredible, "Hey, Mr. Jack." I love it. It's amazing. This album has the same political push through that Toxicity had, but there's something missing here. It felt like this was rushed, and it definitely wasn't, because all of these tracks were demos during the Toxicity time and just weren't released and weren't finished. They were only ever released and finished because they were leaked to the internet, and I'm kind of happy they were, because I wouldn't have some of my favorite System of a Down tracks otherwise. but this album feels like it's missing something, you know what I mean? It feels like something's off. Maybe it's the bass. I don't hear that as much as I'd like to, and I don't hear as many amazing bass riffs as I'd like, or maybe it's the drums. Those aren't as creative as they were on Toxicity in the debut. Or maybe it's Surge. His lyrics aren't as on point as they were, especially in the opener, Chicken Stew. And while I think it works there, the sort of pepperoni and green peppers, mushrooms, olives, chives, pepperoni and green peppers, mushrooms, olives, chives, need therapy. Like, I get the point, is that he's blaming modern consumerism for his obsession with items, specifically items in his fridge. I don't know. It feels like Surge isn't all the way there. Or maybe it's Darren. Darren doesn't seem to have as big of a hand into the making of this as I'd like him to, or as maybe Darren would like himself to. Which is fine. Something fell, sorry. Which is fine, but System of a Down works because everything works together. And I hope that on these next few albums, they don't jeopardize this. In 2004, the group recorded the follow-up to Steal This Album. Actually, a double album, which they decided to release in separate installments because Surge felt that the attention spans of people were getting shorter and shorter, and so it'd be easier just to release them both as half-an-hour albums rather than releasing them together as a 1 hour record. And he was probably right to do that, but like, I don't know, I think it would have been fine if he released a double album. However, in 2005, May 17th, we got Mezmerize. And for anyone who thought that was foreshadowing, kinda, while yes, Darren was kind of being pulled out of the creative process, and they were trying to, and this was their attempt to split it more half and half, especially with the track, Old School Hollywood, and, Old School Hollywood, where Darren, it's literally only written by Darren, who went to play a baseball game with a bunch of celebrities. But this album feels complete. The political songs are here, and it's incredible. And the personal songs are here, and they're all incredible. The only tracks I'd really skip is the intro, just because it's kind of boring for me. That just doesn't do it. It's a difference in taste, I guess. And Old School Hollywood, the track I mentioned earlier, I just don't like it. And this cocaine makes me feel like I'm on this. It's tacky. I'm sorry. But tracks like Radio Video, Cigarillo, Violent Pornography, Question, Sad Statue, and Revenja are fucking incredible tracks. Specifically Revenja, which still rings true. It's about abortion rights and this girl Clementine who's getting one against her father's will. And I really like BYOB, Bring Your Own Bombs, which is in protest of the Iraq War, like Boom was. Which Boom is, again, one of my favorite System of a Down tracks, so here we are. Or Violent Pornography, which is a commentary on the degrading nature of TV and media, on just culture and intelligence in general. Or Question, which is pondering this life and reincarnation and the afterlife, and how we all got here and what will happen and all of that. Or Sad Statue, which is a specific anti-government song, the Statue of Liberty, being sad that we spend so much time arguing that we don't recognize that our rights are being taken away right in front of us. This is a great album. There's nothing to say against it. While there are tracks that I would skip here, tracks like Radio Video, which is genuinely an amazing song. Hey, I'm on the radio. I love that scream on one of the last choruses. Or tracks like, as I said before, Cigarillo, or Question, or Lost in Hollywood, the outro, Fame, which is about fame taking normal people and turning them fake, or if they don't turn fake, they die before their time. Make this album what it is, an incredible piece of nu metal political nu metal for the most part, with some personal tales, I guess, thrown in there. Overall, this is a great album and a sort of return to form for System of a Down. Not that they ever left, really, but that they were just kind of going like this, like System of a Down, Toxicity, Steal This Album, Mezmerize. So, naturally, it was an acclaimed record for System, and just loved and revealed. So, after the acclaim, hype was centering around Hypnotize, and my god did they deliver. On November 22nd, 2005, Hypnotize was released. And first of all, I want to say, System of a Down joined bands like the Beatles or rapper Tupac in being one of the few people to have a #1 album on the Billboard 200 in the same year. Like, have a new record go to #1 in the same year, which releasing 2 albums and having them both hit #1. And that's impressive. I'm not saying it's not. But I am saying System should have released this as a double album. Like, this should not have been broken apart. Because I think this would have worked better as a double album. I think Hypnotize has more of the fun tracks, specifically Vicinity and Obscenity and She's Like Heroin, which are, yeah, the lyrics kind of speak for themselves on that one. I'm not going to say any of the lyrics because I would literally hate myself, but go ahead and look those up if you like. But there's still political songs on here for sure. Specifically the opener, Attack, which is just about the reality of Hollywood being the soul-sucking creature, which is kind of a lead-in from Lost in Hollywood, or the song Dreaming, which is about world citizens and how we're careless to what happens around us, sort of similar to Sad Statue, or hell, Hypnotize, which is about the TV and government feeding people propaganda so they can keep the control of them. Not really a lead-in from any of them specifically, but you get the idea. Or my personal favorite track on the album, fucking Holy Mountains, which is the cover-up of the Armenian genocide by the Turkish government. Or the closer, Soldier Side, which is, you know, the intro of Mezmerize, but it's from the perspective of a mom whose son goes out to war and her emotions about it, and how she doesn't want him to reach the soldier side. And there are still tracks for the personal stuff, Lonely Day especially being the big hit off this album, which is a very emotional track, let's be real. But yeah, this album, it's really good. It keeps the same balance as Mezmerize, but I think these would have worked better together if you had just combined them into one record. But they didn't, so they're both still great, but I think they could have been even better if combined. Same thing, I want to compare it to the Saturation trilogy from Brockhampton. I think that those would not have been better if they were combined. I think each Saturation album had its own sort of feel. It had its own sort of idea that it was trying to come across with. Saturation 1 was more of the vibes, Saturation 2 was more emotional, Saturation 3 was more experimental. That's the idea. And that's fine. But this feels like System of a Down specifically made 2 albums to be made together, and then they just split them apart for attention span reasons, which, like, it's System of a Down. We're gonna hear you. We're gonna listen to you. We love you. And a testament to how much we love you is what they did after this. Yeah, they went on hiatus. In May of 2006, the band announced that they were gonna go on hiatus. And Darren confirmed it. And he even said that the break would most likely last a few years. Serge said at least 3 at bare minimum. But after their performance at Ozfest, the band indulged in side projects. None of them really that big. Darren had a side band, Serge did some solo stuff, but in 2010, System of a Down announced that they were reuniting for a string of large European festivals, and in June 2011, and then throughout the years, the next 5 years, they started doing tours and shows and whatever, but no new music was even announced or heard of from System. However, in November of 2016, drummer John Dolleman revealed in an interview with Kerrang! That System was working on a new album. However, they weren't sure when they were going to release it. They were having some creative differences, and they wanted everyone to be on board with the same things, and they just weren't. Which is unfortunate, because it would have been great to get a new System of a Down record, especially in 2016, when, I'm not going to say rock was dying, because rock is not dying. Rock is still very prevalent in the media. I mean, look at MGK, who hopped genres and is now one of the biggest stars of the 2020s because of it, where as a rapper he was barely not a nobody. But rock isn't as prevalent as it was in the 2000s. You're not really getting hits like Chop Suey, or like Boulevard of Broken Dreams, or like Welcome to the Black Parade, or like Psychosocial, or like, insert hit here. No. But, we just didn't get it because of System's creative differences, and that's fine, because in 2020, we did get 2 songs from System, Protect the Land and Genocidal Humanoids, which are both amazing tracks. I highly recommend going and listening to them, which were both in response to the 2020 Nagorno Karabakh War. However, that's all we've gotten as of late. We've gotten some more teases to an album, but I doubt it's going to come out within the next couple of years. However, I've been wrong. Just go watch my Brockhampton video and realize that they just announced that they recently announced Saturation 4 was going to come out in December. But, yeah. If you're looking to get in the System of a Down, I highly think you should start with Toxicity. And then if you want more, not the pop stuff, but the more catchy stuff, I'd go to Mezmerize and Hypnotize. If you want more heavy stuff, go to the self-titled. And then go to Steal This Album, respectively, I guess. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, please. It helps me out a lot, actually. And I'm trying to, once I get 100 subscribers, I'm going to try to do a special thing for y'all, so stay tuned for that. If you want to be involved in that, just do that. And then if you are looking to a recommended artist for the, not the next discography review, not the next discography review, but the next discography review, the one that will be happening in April, go ahead and drop a comment down below, and I'll add them to the list, and then I'll pick from my little notebook here of artists. I'll randomly pick from my notebook, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Whatever you're doing, make it great. Great evening, great month, great day, great morning, great night. Peace.